Bizeh, in light of the above. In light of what? What's the zeh? What's everything we're learning now that he's saying is now concluding? They're both in the beginning of the avodah of Iskafia is the end game, Asitov, and at the third level, and in the Asitov is the Ispilus, the not for granted, the Gewalt of the beginning of the avodah, even though, as you said, it's a different kind of Gewalt. Maybe it's worthwhile to remember the mashal we gave yesterday, the 3 stages, right? So there's the first state that he's engaged, and so now the avodah is iskafia. It's not ishapcha because we haven't lived together, don't even know each other. So it's iskafia. Then comes ishapcha. Ishapcha is that he channels and he's emotionally engaged, not just committed. Iskafia is committed. And that means you don't look anywhere else. But then he brings to bear into the relationship his heart that develops over time as they get to know each other, etc. And it comes to a point he not interested in anybody else. I only want you. But that is still, I want you. That's still the bitter. He's refined himself, that he's directed and focused to her. Then what's the third stage? The third stage is not I want you. The third stage is mamish unity, as it were, dissolving into each other, becoming one. That's the asay tov. So that's the 2 levels of surmira. Surmira on a literal level, skafia, dealing with an unbridled yetzer hara. Then surmira in the sense of refining the ra. That's the whole avodah of Sfiras HaOmer, refining the emotions, and then the absolute bittul. So conventionally, what's the al-chiddush of the Maimber? Conventionally, that the third level is, by definition, silent and quiet. It's not a gewalt there. So what is the gewalt, as we said? We said 2 things. That first of all, he released 1 thing, but 2 things. He never takes for granted ever that he's there, and it's not by right or earned, despite all of his avodah, it's still by invitation. Because why should your avodah make a difference? That itself is by invitation. And the second thing we said yesterday and the day before was related to this. What's the spilus in the third darga?
He brings with him all of his Inyan could be have it, and he has it there in that way.
Yeah, which means even, the Mami doesn't spell it out, even the imperfections, it's not perfect yet, not on the iskafia, not on the ishapcha. But you still are one with me and embrace me totally. So that's the gewalt in the third level. It's also part of it. It's related to the thing I said a moment before that the gewalt is that my ave is important to you. The ave is the middle level. That's the avodah of isapcha. That you care about my love even. That is amazing. So it's the same nekuda. The nekuda, the gewalt is, again, the mashal. It's not a mashal, it's the same nekuda as we said many times, right? Before you go into the oil, you knock on the door of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Kohen Gadol not having the machshava psula, the improper thought. This is all the same point. So all this is to bring out the following. This is what he speaks about in the Ha'oris, spells it out further, and this is what the Maimber is saying. Namely, that the kavanah is the Eibishter wants the relationship with the neshama. That's the pnimis of what a yid is, and that's the objective. The birur of the nefesh habahamis is a means to that. This is quite the chiddush. It's quite the chiddush. Conventionally, the birur of the nefesh habahamis is the kavanah. It's the other way around. And the neshama comes down to elevate nefesh habahamis and elevate the world. That's conventionally. That's explicit in Eitz Chaim, quoted in Tanya. The neshama doesn't have to be fixed. And why does it come down to the world? Lama yada lamata, to elevate the nefesh habahamis and chelk ba'olam. It's quoted in Tanya. He's saying here the opposite, in the sense of no, the kavanah is the neshama. So what's it?
How are we saying here that belongs to the neshama?
Huh?
How are we saying here that belongs to the neshama?
The whole time, nefesh hashein is. The whole time you're saying that the birur of the nefesh habahamis is a means by which the neshama has its deepest connection. Let's look at order 48 again, because that's where he says it here very clearly. But don't mind missing about Pizeh Yuvan, where he's going now at the end of what he say. The vote we said, which we learned yesterday, the vote of the Frierdiker Rebbe, that Pesach Sheini is shaykh to the nefesh hashenis. That's the chiddush there. Pesach Sheini conventionally is what birur nefesh habahamis. That's the whole point. Sfiras ha'omer and Pesach Sheini. On a simple level, you didn't. Now you're fixing it. You should have. Why didn't you bring it before? Because of nefesh habahamis is the reason. Now you're bringing it. Says the Frierdiker Rebbe, no, the Pesach Sheini is really all about the neshama. So what about fixing nefesh habahamis? By fixing nefesh habahamis, the neshama gets this gewalt and the deepest relationship, embracing even the neshama and the guf. It's all about the neshama. Again, this the Rebbe is saying over and over again in every maamer, that dir b'tachtonim is not the world. Dir b'tachtonim is you. But in order to have that dir, it's in the world. So with the guf and the nefesh habahamis. That's what he's saying here. That's the chiddush of the Deir HaShvi. This is the Rebbe's chiddush over and over again. The Shamash Yisrael hide in Torah and hide in everything. So why Torah? Why mitzvahs? Why nefesh habahamis? Why mitzvahs? This whole business. It's in order to bring out the depth of the neshama's connection and the breadth of it. So order 48 again. So this pasuk, it's brought b'chalal in Chassidus. Mashcheni acharecha narutza v'yani melech hadorav. First, look at the Torah. So conventionally, it's understood like this: Mashcheni is in the singular because who felt the gili of Yitzias Mitzrayim, not nefesh habahamis, is completely unrefined. Only the neshama responded, and then we were whisked out of Mitzrayim. Then comes Avodas v'Resecha acharecha narutza. We are going. That's melamata lamaya, the whole avodah of birur, and narutza we nefesh habahamis is engaged. That's the chiddush that we're bringing along the nefesh habahamis. And then the Shtei Alechem on Shavuos, the two breads, that's the birur of nefesh habahamis and the nefesh halikis. We're going from the barley, we're going from the korban ha'omer, which is Michael Behema on Pesach, and it has to be dafka what? Not chametz, obviously, like every korban mincha basically, except for the korban toida, but it's also on Pesach, so clearly it's not chametz, and it's barley. So what? It's iskafia. It's bittul, no self-expression, you break yourself. Tasteless, dry, kabbalas oil. That's how it all begins with the barley, which is nefesh habahamis. Then we go to the whole process of the birur, and the end is two breads, and bread dafke, because now we're engaging in refining the ego, the self. That's the birur hamidus. And it's two breads dafke, chometz dafke, expression, birur, not breaking, engaging, and that's dafke what? Two, because nefesh habahamis, nefesh halikis. That's the tachlis. That's as Bechaltz understood. That's the third level. Haviyani and Melech Hadarav, the king has brought me into his chamber. And the emphasis being, what's the chiddush here? The beginning was only nefesh halikis was third. And now the nefesh habahamis. That's the tachlis. Nefesh halikis came down to elevate the nefesh habahamis. It's a conventional understanding. The neshama comes down to the world, the kavanah is dirib tachtim, push it, elevate the world, elevate the nefesh habahamis. He's adding this nuance here that no, the tachlis is the neshama. And the whole avodah of engaging nefesh habahamis, nefesh halikis is to learn this appreciation and have the gewalt as we're explaining in the maamer. So now, now he touches it in the Pesach, the classic Pesach from the Kutei Torah, where this whole beer is first revealed. Let's look at it again. It starts Lashon Yochid because only the Nefesh Elikis responds to Tzias Mitzrayim. The Nefesh Abamis is almost one step away from the 50th level of Tumba, which is the point of no return. So who's responding here? Just deep within there's an Akudah that responds. But the conscious Jew then, like what's going on, going out of Egypt to a desert, commandments, didn't relate to the whole thing. Barely. But then came the whole Avodah of the Nefesh Abamis, the 7 weeks, Sviras Ha'im. So it starts Lashon Yachid. Of the Kriyat Matan Torah. The end result is you brought me into his chamber, which is Matan Torah, is again Lashon Yachid. So conventionally, the singular is because the two become one. But here the question is, no, it's still the neshama. It's all about the neshama. The whole gil of Yitzias Mitzrayim is still the Nefesh Elikis. That is the Yid, the Neshama, that's the Jew. And that's what the Eibishter wants, that's the Kavanah, this is all it means to it. Even the middle Avodah, which is we, that's Nefesh Bahamis, Shebe'emtze. Even though it's we and we talk about Nefesh Bahamis, but who do you really mean here? The whole point is the Nefesh Elikis is learning the Gewalt. For other reasons explained also in Chassidus, that it comes down to the world to struggle. And by struggling, it unlocks its deepest connection. It's all about the Neshama. Even the Narutza, we're not in the same field. It's the Nefesh Elikis' Narutza, that is the objective here. Well, and therefore it's noteworthy. This comes out now very sweet. This will understand, becomes sweet now. That even the whole avodah of Sviras Ha'im Lashon Rabim, the Koya Sviras Ha'im, this is Akdama to Matan Torah. What's the Shaila? Of course, the whole bit of Nefesh Bahamis, 49 levels, is Akdama to the 50th level Matan Torah. So, what needs to be explained here? Answer: As we learn in Kabbalah, the whole birur, the refinement of the Nefesh Bahamis.
I don't think you finished the Ha'ara.
I'm still saying it, no?
I'm sorry,
I'm saying the Ha'ara.
I'm lost. Okay.
The last line and on the next page, the Reish Samach. What's the Shaili which he's answering? That the birur of the Ummah magirak b'chinas levush malchus v'lei b'chinas kesem malchus. The whole refinement of the world, just accept this as a fact, we don't explore this right now, only reaches the lowest level of malchus, but not the kesem. So it's very nice that the world is refined, but what Matan Torah is beyond the whole notion of a refined world. In simple language, a refined world is ishtalshalus, and Torah is hidden ishtalshalus. Refined world is Atzilus. Down here, Atzilus is revealed, which was, we learned before, that was the whole end of Pri Yamsuf. But Torah is beyond that. So, the Gilu de Matan Torah, the Gilu Matan Torah is beyond the perfect world, which is the birur of Nefesh Bahamis. What is Matan Torah? Ba'Torah Shita L'Yimai. Matan Torah is a day where his mother, it's Eden, crowned the Eibishter, and he gives that crown to Eden, and that's B'chinas Kesem Malchus. He explains the Maimorim of Purim. So why are we saying now the Shaila? So what does this mean? That the birur, the Nefesh Bahamis, the avodah of Narutza, is the Achonon for Matan Torah. That's a beautiful, refined Nefesh Bahamis, and a nice fellow, and refined, and all his loves are in the right direction. It's all yeshus, it's all creations, perfect creation. And Matan Torah is otherworldly. And so now we have the answer, because this whole Nefesh Bahamis led to the real objective, the Gewalt of the Nefesh Elikis. And that's the Achonon to Matan Torah. The Nefesh Elikis only achieved that through engaging the Nefesh Bahamis. Again, it is a means, not the end. The Shleim Habir is in the end of the Ha'ara. This which we say to the whole Avodah Sviras Ha'im, at least to Matan Torah, it's loy mitzad ha'bir v'amnus Nefesh Bahamis. Nefesh Bahamis became now a mention instead of being excited about Dvarim Gashmi. He's not excited about Yiddishkeit. But that's still all a human, beautiful thing. Nefesh Bahamis and its teva. Matan Torah is completely higher than Ishtalshalos. That's not the hachana, although it is necessary. But what leads to Matan Torah? Mitzad Amarutza the Nefesh Alikis. It is the gewalt that the Nefesh Alikis learned and gained by engaging Nefesh Bahamis. Shenas Ad Amarutza Nefesh Bahamis that happened through the Nefesh Bahamis, which you need to understand clearly. We're talking for days about this, but what this Marutza, this gewalt is, but that is the kavanah. That's the kavanah. The kavanah is that in the Vasei Toiv, which is the words of is Dafkus Rucha B'Rucha, there's complete unity where there's nothing in between at all, and it's higher than I love you, which is Bir Nefesh Bahamis. It's the Yeshus. That there is still the gewalt for the reasons we explained. That's the kavanah. Okay, let's continue. There's no substitute for people thinking on their own and toiling over this again and again and again. Yankee is going to enlighten us Shabbos a little bit. What's today? It's Friday morning. It's you've got more than 24 hours. That's all you're thinking about. Yeah. But chas v'sholem, not to the attraction of wife and children. Adarabbe. In that total, I say toiv achdus, you will find the answer. Not two separate inyanim. It's one kavanah. Huh? Now you got a clue. Okay. We can't wait to hear you. The Rebbe adds now that the mile of the Dilig Pesach Sheini of a Pesach Rishon who be'en aroich. He said that already that it's higher. The Dilig of Pesach Rishon is what's at stake here. We're going from sin to not sin. That's the Gewalt of Pesach Rishon, running out of Mitzrayim. The Gewalt of Pesach Sheini is in Kedusha Gufa, and the ultimate level is still the Gewalt there. So he's saying it's incomparable. It's radical, even compared to the radical change from Pesach Rishon. As we said, to go from good to bad, bad to good, is radical. But in good itself, to go from good to godly, just to use language, is even more radical. So this is similar to which it says, the Pasuk says, like the days I took you out of Mitzrayim, I'll show you wonders. So the simple meaning is that there were wonders then, by Yetzias Mitzrayim, there'll be wonders by the final Geula. But Chassidus explains that no, the deeper meaning is that Yetzias Mitzrayim will be wondrous compared even to the miracles of the final redemption will be wondrous even compared to the Geulas Mitzrayim. So again, the point he's saying now, that the Gewalt in the final level is a completely different order of Gewalt and infinitely beyond the Gewalt of the starting point of going out of Mitzrayim. He goes to explain it. The Bira Inyan will say, how do we see this loss of love is the same thing? What's the connection between Ashaychas to Pesach Sheini, Legula Sidra Prat Yosef? To explain in more detail the connection between Pesach Sheini and the final redemption is as follows. In Yisra Medrash says in Medrash Tilim, Shegulas Mitzrayim, the redemption from Mitzrayim, V'chin Agula Megolas Babel V'shara Gulas Ad La Gula Del Osid, and likewise the redemptions of all of the exiles we suffered, Golos of Bavel, and then later Persia, and then Rome. So all of those redemptions, Dugmas Eiran there, that's similar to light created by a candle, by a flame. But like a flame, of a candle, eventually the fuel runs out. They weren't permanent. But the final redemption is like the light of the sun that is never extinguished. So that's the metaphor is obvious. Okay, temporary light was a permanent light, a small light, a great light. Going a little bit deeper, Kabbalistically. Why is Gulas Mitzrayim compared to the candle? A candle is Malchus. The candle, the flame, the fire is produced by the consumption of the fuel. So too, the Inyan of governance demands a surrender to authority, and then there can be light and order. That's the way it is then. So that's like we were saying now, the Aveda Viskafia, the surrender, and then is Hapcha. The fuel is consumed, the fuel is transformed. It's actually two stages. First it's consumed, then it becomes the fire. That's Iskafia and Hapcha. That's the end of in there. But Vagilish, that's Gilus Mitzrayim. Vagilish, Shehai Begulus Mitzrayim. So therefore the Gili that was there, even though in essence it was beyond the order of creation completely, as we say in the God the Eye, and not a Malach and not a Saraf, still, where was it invested? It was invested in creation, and therefore it's limited ultimately to creation. Hashem jumped over the doorway. What's the doorway? The doorway represents Malchus, because the doorway is the interface between the house, Tzilus, and the rest of the world. That's Bia, that's Malchus. So another metaphor for Malchus is a doorway. Malchus has many physical metaphors, like what? Other things in our world. We just learned the ocean, another dimension to Malchus is in the physical.
Earth.
The earth. Yeah. So another one, it's all the same, just different dimensions to the same, the Kudah of the Mekabel or the interface. So that was what Yitzias Mitzrayim. The Pesach. You still hear me? The Pesach for Malchus. We said before that the opening, the doorway is Malchus. But what? That's then. However, Mizem Muvan, Shagula Asida Nimshalei Rashemeshul, the fact that the final redemption is compared to the light of the sun, because then Yagilu Del Mali Mishtal Shalo is completely beyond the Shtal Shalo Shayia Oz, the Pchina Zoh. That's the level of Zoh. Malchus is the level of Atzilus that connects to Ishtal Shalos. But Zoh is pure likus. It's all relative. Zoh is pure likus. That's what we said Pesach Sheini is. It's Yisoid. It's the foundation of Zoh. Zoh HaShaykh is the Pesach Sheini Gula Sida, and that's a connection. Kigila Pesach Sheini be Yisoid the Zoh. What's Pesach Sheini? Not like Pesach Rishon, which was Malchus, behavioral, Iskafia. This is all the internal, and the Pnimius, now we speak Mamash, the Pnimius of the internal, and that is Lasid Lava, to be revealed, the Shemash, eternal, the true eternity, and that's a connection to Pesach Sheini.
Which is also called Shenis, like in our Order 56.
Mm-hmm.
Does this show the deal of the difference? Like the deal, the same, the jumping of Pesach Sheini versus the.
Because this one is in Malchus, and this is in Zoh.
It doesn't say like in Avodah. He's just saying the level.
In Avodah he spoke till now, just now kind of in Darga. Now he's speaking in Dargas, in level. There, the Pesach, where at the end of the day was experienced at the level of Malchus, and here the Pesach is experienced. It's a different kind of a Pesach, which we said earlier. That's the Gewalt in the Aseh Tov. It's a whole different order of Gewalt. It's a whole different radical appreciation. It's like the tzaddik doing tshuva. That's more difficult than the sinner doing tshuva. It's a more radical. It's the same nekuda. Same general idea. That's the chiddush of Mashiach. That also lasov tzaddikai b'tshuva will come and make the tzaddikim do tshuva. It's a much harder task, and it's much more radical, much more subtle, much more radical. It's the same nekuda. That the and Aseh Tov, and so. And I love you, and he's earned it, and he's worked on himself, and still, that any of all of this makes a difference to you blows him away. that my love is even significant, that my love can touch you. This is the Gewalt. That you want my love, even the perfect love, and certainly an imperfect love. Certainly, it's even the bigger Gewalt. Let's finish the ois. There's an important order 62, which we'll do next on Monday. Lashon of Tanya in the beginning of Perek Lamed Zayin, may it be Hashem's will that our actions and our avodah. The point he's saying here is that Mashiach doesn't come as a reward tacked on. You tried hard, now you get rewarded. Mashiach is created by us. It's a consequence of our avodah. So befragt by Inyan Mashayachim the Pesach Sheini is through our avodah, especially in that we're talking about now, connected to Pesach Sheini, Yikaravu, Yimaru, Ejois Agula, so that we should draw near and hasten even more so the final redemption. Shegam Agula Hasidati Beifin Shel Dilug. That's also going to be radical. And suddenly, Yedisa b'medrash, says the medrash, Kerl Doidi, the voice of my beloved, is coming, Medalag Elahodim, skipping over the mountains, and Melech HaMashiach. The medrash says it refers to Mashiach v'adarab. On the contrary, not only also will it be Dilug v'adarab Agula Hasidati, Dilug God will be Yosef. It'll be the greatest radical change. Dugmas similar to Avalamayla, but beyond Magula to Pesach Sheini, even higher than Pesach Sheini. That itself is higher than Pesach Rishon. And he adds, what's it going to be? Absolutely not bound to any order or system, radical in the moment. Oh, Mashiach is here. Psak din like that. Rambam is miyad heini golin. That when Yidden will do tshuva, they're redeemed immediately. There's no process. It can happen in an absolute instant. B'bias Mashiach tzidkenu, Yovi, Galenu, V'yalechenu. Yamil Satzini, may you come and redeem us and take us upright to our land. B'mheda b'yameinu mamish. Okay, this requires a lot of elaboration. Is achona, not achona. At any rate, okay. So